Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the session. We'll wait a few more moments.
Running everywhere, nothing to keep. Friday it deployed, came back on Monday. Budget blown, no trace. Who worked on Sunday? So we built Paperclip, open source and clean. One dashboard every.
Those who already joined are welcome to put their names and say welcome. Say hello to everyone, and thank you for joining.
Bring the plan, CEO, agent, delegates like only Dotta can. Roofers finding hell, dentists running ops, security firms reviewing Paperclip, don't stop. 46,000 stars in just a couple weeks. Open source, MIT, Dotta barely speaks. Set the goal, Paperclip hires the team. Check the spend, check the work, watch the dream.
Okay, feeling momentum here. Good evening, Mandy.
Come everyone.
Hello, Guy. Hi, Ilan. Hi, Ron. Dotta, Iran, Roy, Eden, Leor, Junior. Thanks for joining us. And we're starting. So, thank you, everyone, for joining today. TalkOS. TalkOS is where we have real conversations with open source founders and anything interesting in general. What we're going to do today is a little bit of an intros, and then we're going to get a live demo from Dotta, which is already here. Then we'll talk about use cases and Q&A, and then we're going to do a small raffle. So you want to stay till the end. A little bit about me. I'm Ilan. I am the founder of Consulto and now working on a few additional AI projects in progress. I've been building things in the last 20 plus years and happy to host Dotta today. And Dotta.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Oh, I am 10 out of 10. Super excited to talk about Paperclip today. Can't wait for us to do it.
All right. I wanted to start with congratulating you for crossing yesterday night 50,000 stars on GitHub.
Hey, thank you. Wow. Yeah, that's unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know, when I first released Paperclip, I was like, I know this is good. I'm hoping we get like 100,000 views on Twitter for it. And really just the response has been above and beyond what I even would have expected for it. But yeah, super, super grateful that people love it and really like encouraged to see that the momentum's not really slowing down, right? Usually with these kinds of things, you get a pop at the beginning, and but happy that we've had a bit of staying power. The curve still has a decent slope right there.
Yeah, the momentum hasn't slowed down. I'm even showing right now the fun fact, GitHub stars over the last 5 weeks or so, that we can see that it's growing, and it's growing really fast. So congratulations for that.
Fun.
Another small fun fact is I noted that on GitHub, the first contributor is Dotta. I assume that's you. But
yeah.
I also noted that the second one is Paperclip itself.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So Paperclip acts a little bit like Claude Code. So I don't know if you've noticed, but Claude itself also adds itself as a co-contributor. And but we use Paperclip to build Paperclip. It's well, it's really the best way to do it. And I'll show you how I do it today.
All right. How about you take control? I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay.
And you're going to show Paperclip.
Yeah, I'm going to show Paperclip. Okay.
By the way, if anyone has questions in the audience, you're more than welcome to ask them over the chat here or over the Q&A section. Both are fine.
Yeah, and Ilan, so I assume you're going to monitor the chat. I'm going to just keep talking, and if there are questions, please interrupt me. Happy to answer them. So please ask questions as we go through it. So when we talk about, okay, let me give you kind of the setting of like what Paperclip is at all. The idea behind Paperclip is it gives you the power to manage multiple AI agents in a way that is very organized, in a way that's understandable for humans. We've talked about this idea that like Paperclip is open source orchestration for zero human companies. I think that like one of the things that we're changing is that it's actually like a human control plane for AI labor. I'm sure you all like have been facing this. Like every employee now is expected to be a 10x or 100x employee. And but one of the things that you'll find is like when you are using the Claude app directly, or maybe Claude Code if you're super technical, is that like there's a lot of problems that show up. You're like having to gather context from a lot of different places. You are have to like save your prompts in text files. You have like a bunch of tabs open either in Claude Code or like in Claude itself. And it's like impossible to keep track of the work and to go back and revisit old things and to like learn from your behaviors. And so Paperclip was designed for that exact problem. I was basically working on a bunch of projects for which I would have 30 Claude Code tabs open and I couldn't remember what was happening. I then moved to OpenClaw, which is an incredible piece of software. Really, really love using OpenClaw. But the issue was it would have a hard time kind of managing my entire company or like a rigorous software development process or a rigorous business process using one OpenClaw. OpenClaw is getting better every day. But at the time that I was using it, you know, it would drop cron jobs. It would like forget things in its memory. It would do the wrong thing. Like, I think that like OpenClaw is a great agent to have as an employee in your company. But like if OpenClaw is your employee, then Paperclip is your company, right? You don't typically have a company that's just one entire employee that knows everything. Maybe you have a super founder and that's fine, but you need kind of this bigger organizational structure for us to be able to manage everything that's going on. So this is my Paperclip company. This is the company that I actually use to manage Paperclip itself. I have a CEO. I have the CTO who covers a bunch of engineers. Now, one of the cool things about Paperclip is it's bring your own agent. So that means if you like to use Claude Code or Codex or Pi or Hermes or OpenClaw, really any agent that you want to bring into your organization, you can bring it to Paperclip. We'll also be adding support for more adapters as we go. Paperclip is free and open source. If I didn't say that already, this is a tool that you can just download and use. If you want to use it, we talk about how to use it here on our website. You just type this command in your terminal and it will pop up a web UI and be started within just 30 seconds. We are going to create a desktop app soon, so it'll be even easier. So you don't have to use a command line tool if you don't want to. But in any case, you can bring any agent that you want, any agent that you have. And if there are agents that we don't support already, you can actually ask your agents to make new adapters for you. And there's a really rich plugin system in Paperclip, so it's extensible for kind of any way that you want to work with your agents. Let me show you like a motivating example here real quick. I have a chief marketing officer and I had them hire a video writer. See, we crossed, here, let me go to my Twitter. We crossed 40,000 stars. You know, we need to do this actually for the 50,000 stars. We crossed 40,000 stars last week. And on the 30th, well, it's a little more than a week ago. And I wanted to celebrate this with a video. Normally what I would do here is I would actually just like tweet, 40,000 stars with it, like, and be happy about it, maybe a screenshot. And with this, I was like, I wonder how fast I can have my clips like make this video for me. And so what I did is I came here and I made a new issue and I asked my CEO, I said, hire a video editor and, ask her to make a video about 40K stars. And so I'm not going to type this all out here, but this was how we approached it. This is a key analogy to using Paperclip. Is the ideal is that you are the board member and you are talking to your CEO, and then they break down the task for the employees, who break it down to the individual contributors. Now, a little bit later today, we're going to talk about some ways that falls down and ways that we're building. But I'll tell you, that's kind of the analogy that we're aiming for, is that you operate at the level of business goals, not pull requests. Paperclip is not a code review tool. There's not a code review tool in Paperclip. Now, maybe you can make a plugin if that's really important to you and the way you work. But the idea is that you should be managing business outcomes is what you're aiming for. So I'll let this go. Yeah.
Can I ask you a quick question? So,
of course,
one of the things that I noted, for example, when I work with OpenClaw and some others, is that, or especially with Claude Code and Codex, is that when I use them, it's really easy to provide feedback that will prevent the AI from drifting, right? Okay, so when for example, when you work with Claude Code, after a few turns, it starts drifting away, and you need to bring it back to where you started with. And in OpenClaw, it drifts even further because there's no human in the loop. One of the things that I noted with Paperclip is because of the delegation process, right? You're starting with the CEO and you're telling the CEO what you want the outcome to be. But then it propagates down, right, to the end worker through the CMO, CTO, whatever. I felt a little bit more of a drift. And now you talked about code review, which for me is in essence, is a way to prevent that drift. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. So I would say that these, as good as these models are, they don't automatically know what you want. These models are like the LLMs, they can do anything, but they can't know what you value. And so if you operate at too high of a level and you don't take the time to kind of craft your guidance, your taste, your judgment into what they're doing, you will get bad results. So if I can give like a tip to someone using Paperclip or really any agentic system, it starts small. Start with just one agent and then peel off layers as you feel you can kind of keep the quality high. So I would say that you're not wrong, actually, that like if you start at too high of a level, you won't get good results. You have to kind of train your taste from the bottoms up, which would be something that we're kind of doing here with this like video. But I'll skip ahead to answering your bigger, like, let me show you the example with this video in particular and ways that we make the quality high. But let me also allude to your bigger kind of concern, which is that zero human companies are somewhat aspirational at the moment, because if you just give it a prompt and tell it to make a company, the results won't be good, right? And so, yeah, so let's talk about how ways that you imbue your taste and how Paperclip like helps that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So with this video, after my CEO hired a video writer, I wrote this prompt, which is like, plan a video for the stats dashboard. Go look at this dashboard, make a plan for a remotion video that we can create that celebrates 40,000 stars and so on. So this was my entire prompt for that video, well, with a bit of conversation below. What it did is it actually installed the remotion skills. Are you familiar with skills.sh? It's a website where you can have skills that your agent already knows. This one, for example, shows you how to build videos without signing up for any kind of external service. Paperclip has built into it a skills manager. So for your organization, you can have skills, and then you can assign those skills to agents. So this video writer, she has the remotion best practices videos skill. So then from there, we asked it to write a plan. It wrote this plan, and I interact with it and say, well, I think your cuts are too long. They need to be like 2 seconds and not 6. And can you have the 40,000 stars animated and so on? So I read the plan that it wrote and then iterated on it. And then within, 5 or 10 minutes, we had kind of this third version of the video, which is the video that you see here on the site. And it looks good. It's on brand. And it's like, could you do that with Claude Code already? 100% you could. But look at how short this kind of iteration process was, where it already had access to my dashboard, which we were able to mention. It already had the credentials to access our stats. It already knew when I say I want it on brand, the organization already knows my branding guide. We have a Paperclip brand guide, which I'd created ahead of time. And so you're able to collect all those things about how we like to do work, what it counts as done for our business, and create something that like feels, let's say, good enough. It could be better, but it's good enough. And then as we are creating multiple videos through this agent, we're able to learn what our tastes are and where it continues to fall down, right? Like maybe after we've created a few videos, we say, hey, your first draft, you always do 6-second cuts. We want 2-second cuts. And you're able to sort of build learning in this process, because every task that you do with Paperclip is tracked within these issues and within the conversation. And this also tracks the budget, how many tokens you're spending, how much it cost, and as well as like the conversation that it took to get there. So you get this organizational learning, and you can, this is a simple case that you can multiply across your whole organization. You can always learn from how everyone works through the quality of the output, instead of it being lost on all of your developers like Claude Code sessions. So, yeah, this would be kind of one of the motivating examples. Do we want to take any questions here before we move on?
One of the questions was from the audience was, how do you chat with a CEO?
Yeah, that would be one of the features that we have on the roadmap, would be just kind of like a direct chat. How I do it right now is I create an issue for the CEO. Is I would say, like, I want you to hire a video editor, and then now kind of the record of this, chat as a surface is chat. It has a very low affordance. And what I mean is you lose a lot of context when you have these super long chats that are 20 pages and you have to like scroll way back. Like there's something inherent in kind of organizing the information flow to do work for which chat is not the best solution. But at the same time, sometimes you just want to ask your CEO, like, hey, what's the status of the telemetry feature? And you don't really want to have this kind of like deep issue tracking. You just want to answer to your question. So yeah, CEO chat is one of the features on our roadmap. You can see our roadmap on the GitHub repo down here. Yeah, CEO chat is like one of the next features we're working on.
Amazing. So you're adding it, but you're also saying that because chats can be very long and hard to read, you prefer just giving the CEO tasks as a board member, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because here's the thing, like when you ask for kind of a feature and you say, oh, like how is the like new blog design coming in a chat, and then you like move on to something else and then move something else. And you're wondering 2 weeks later, like, oh, why are we having this regression on the blog design? Well, you have all of that here, right? I can come here and I can search through the issues and look at like where we did work about like the blog surface, and kind of like now we can go back to things we were working on a week ago and kind of update those.
Got it. So let's see if I understood what you're providing up to now. You provide a way to create a CEO, and then the CEO hires additional employees, which I'm not sure we saw, but I saw this. And then for example, in this case, you showed us how it created the video and you iterated with it. How did you do that iteration? How did you fine tune exactly what you wanted from the video editor in this case, which is the video writer?
So in this case, it would have been a conversation that we have here in this sort of chat. So what you see here is, like kind of the comment system is sort of this comment hybrid chat, where what I was doing here was asking for a new render, and I would say, well, can you make it dark mode or something, right? Like we could do this here and send it off, and the agent will now work. Now, here I would say is a shortcoming of Paperclip, and I would say of which there are actually many. We released Paperclip on March 4th. It is now April 9th. So we are talking at about, what's called 36 days or something in. There are a lot of kind of surfaces of this app that we aren't kind of finished. One glaring omission would be, okay, it rendered the video out to a file, but like, how do I actually watch that video? So that is another thing that we sort of have on the roadmap, which is this idea of like artifacts and deployments, which is you shouldn't have to go like track down that file in order to like watch
somewhere in the chat. It's hidden somewhere in the chat, right? You're saying
that's right.
Right. I also noted that, and I'm happy you're tackling that as
yes.
a feature.
It does assume that like kind of you have other tools on the outside that help you, but there's certain just friction points that are really unnecessary that we're fixing. Another thing that I would say, back on the CEO chat issue, is that every piece of Paperclip has an agentic surface to it. Your CEO, there's a Paperclip skill, and your CEO knows how to create projects, how to create issues, comments, goals, routines, hiring, firing. All of those things are embedded in the surface of Paperclip, such that like if you wanted to make an OpenClaw your CEO, you could, and he knows how to perform all the functions. If you wanted to just give Paperclip skill to your Claude Code CLI because you like that better, you can't. Like Paperclip itself is an agent-driven product, and everything, like your agents already know how to do everything in Paperclip, even if and then you can only dip into the UI when you sort of are interested where something goes wrong. So let me talk more about budgeting a little bit, just briefly. You can set a budget for your agent. You can set a budget for a project, and you can see how much everything was spent. So, for example, when you look,
are these token budgets or are these like expenses?
Yeah, both. So there's both token budgets as well as like dollar amounts, and for kind of both metered billing and like subscriptions can be handled here. So for example,
you're saying that if, for example, my video editor was running Runway, for example, APIs, and it used and consumed a few of those APIs, you would see how much APIs of Runway it costs, right?
Yeah, yes, for all kind of features that have an adapter into Paperclip. I would say that like if you literally just like if you set up, okay, Paperclip is bring your own agent. And so if you have kind of like deep sort of hooks or skills or plugins or like auth that's set up outside of Paperclip, you can do that. And some pieces it might not know about, right? Like Paperclip knows about what Paperclip is kind of controlling. If you set up your Runway auth outside of Paperclip, it's not going to know that. But if you sort of have anything that you kind of have hooked into Paperclip, yes, it can track the costs. And that would be sort of the idea, is that you would have an agent that uses Runway, and you would bake into the Runway skill to report back its costs to Paperclip. But I would say really like the most important piece is around like the inference costs. That's where it like owns the most. And you can use your Claude Code subscriptions at the moment anyway. You can use your Codex subscriptions, which is why you see here the inference spend is 0, but we've used whatever this is, like 3 billion tokens or something.
So in other words, the third-party ban that Anthropic just posed to other tools is not relevant here, and you can use Claude Code at this moment, at least.
At this moment, the policy, as far as I understand it, right, that they've tweeted out is that when you use Claude binary -p for personal use on personal projects, it's fine. And so Paperclip does not violate the terms of service as we understand it, and our users haven't had any issues. That said, I would say that they're changing it all the time, and that's reasonable for their business. But at the same time, that's part of the benefit of Paperclip, is that you're able to substitute out agents for whatever kind of agent harness you want. But yes, today you can use Paperclip when it's personal use on a personal team. As we move to Paperclip Cloud, which we're building, of course, you'll pay sort of like these cloud inference costs, these metered billing costs. But I would say one thing that we do support is using OpenRouter and their open code along with OpenRouter. So if you're not familiar, there are many models which you can use that provide decent results at a fraction of the cost. So this would be the OpenRouter rankings, and you can set up your agent to use open code as the sort of harness and plug in any of these models that you want. So oftentimes there's even models here that are free, right? Qwen 3.6 is free for now. Step 3.5 is free. So if you have jobs for which, a free model is suitable, you can hire an agent within Paperclip that points to it. Just ask your CEO. He knows how to do it. Now, I would say that I don't recommend in most cases having your CEO be some of these other kind of third-party models. We do recommend that your CEO is a frontier model because there's a lot of reasoning for which like the higher models I think are more important. But one of the things that we're working on with Paperclip is having smarter kind of orchestration where you're able to use a cheaper model, because you don't need to pay sort of frontier model pricing for this orchestration overhead, which is like, who am I? What am I working on? Where do I do the work? What's the context, the knowledge? Like there's all these pieces that that we will solve in Paperclip that aren't solved today, that can make a lot of the inference costs a lot cheaper.
And okay, so if I understand, you're saying that we can use OpenRouter, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask, what about the local LLMs? For example, using Olama. Last week, Google just published Gemma 4, which worked really well. And Qwen's 3.5 and 6 models are working very nicely on local machines.
Nice.
What about that? Especially that Paperclip is open source. I would expect, I must say, that it would support those open source models as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So we support both open code and Pi, and well, you can create an adapter for whatever you want. But I would say that open code is maybe like the clearest, the easiest way to do this, where you're able to sort of select the models that you want. I haven't actually tried. Yeah, Gemma's in here. I believe this will actually happen through OpenRouter. Yeah. Again, this is the advanced configuration page that I'm showing you because you asked. One of the things you'll notice is when you hit plus, it'll actually say, we recommend you just have your CEO set it up for you. Like he knows how to do the advanced configuration better than you do. That's what I would recommend. But all that to say, yes, you can use anything with open code, any model that open code supports, which is basically anything in OpenRouter.
Got it.
Now, I can show you, well, please ask questions, or when you're ready for me to move on, I've got.
Let's continue with the flow itself. Okay, so let's say I want to start with Paperclip, and you just mentioned that, okay, I'm going to create the CEO, and the CEO will create the new hires. How does that, like, show us the onboarding flow? Like, what would you recommend the easiest onboarding flow to be? Okay,
so when you boot Paperclip, you'll get this onboarding flow, and Paperclip is not just me. It's both myself as well as my co-founders, Devin and Scott. They were at Figma and Slack and Pinterest, respectively. So they both have a design skill that far surpasses my own. And their design skill has not quite made it into Paperclip yet. But so this process will be improved. But let me just show you what we have for today. So let's say we want to make a new company. Let's call this, what company should we make? Maybe we should make a Call the Expert.
I don't know. Let's take it from the audience. Does someone want to?
Okay, someone in the audience got a good idea.
Yeah,
who's got a good idea?
Do that. But in the meantime, what would be the flow while they type? And okay, so one just mentioned, I think that was OpenCLA. Oh, maybe it's OpenClaw. No. Okay, let's take Consulto as okay.
Okay. Yeah, Consultio. I don't know how you spell it.
CONSOL. Okay, macro hard. macro, MACROHARD. Roy, thank you.
And okay, and so this can be a company where you get to video chat with experts, and you pay them per minute for their expertise, right? It's a two-sided marketplace for like consulting with, let's say, I don't know, like programmers and technical help, and AI, workers or whatever. And well, like AI help, something like this. Okay, it's a stupid description, but it's enough to get us started. And what we'll do here is you'll be prompted to create your first agent. When you run Paperclip on your local machine, it uses both either Claude Code or Codex, or like if you have these installed, these are what we would recommend. Like if you already use Claude Code on your machine. But you can, of course, choose some of these other agents. I think you can make OpenClaw your CEO, but I think the setup process is a bit awkward and it's not a good experience for your first time. So what we can do here is
so your recommendation is not making OpenClaw the CEO, but using either Claude Code or Codex. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing, OpenClaw works fine as the CEO, but the way you set up OpenClaw as an employee is the two machines have to have like network access to one another. You have to and then you give OpenClaw a prompt, and then they negotiate it amongst themselves on how to kind of connect and talk. I would say that like if it's your first time firing up Paperclip, don't try it. Just use Claude Code or Codex. It's way easier. Okay, so we're going to give our CEO something to do. Say, hire your first engineer and create a hiring plan. You're the CEO. You set direction for the company. Hire a founding engineer. Write a hiring plan. Break the roadmap into concrete tasks and start delegating work. We could change this if we wanted, but I think this is a good enough detail. Anything you want to change?
Let's just make it know that it's working for that company, or that's already in the context.
Yeah, it should know that already. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah,
macro
we'll create
hard.
this and we'll get started. Yeah, macro hard. There we go. Now let's see here. What's happening is the CEO, so here's your kind of initial dashboard. There's our inbox where he's hiring the first engineer. And, one of the unfortunate things about AI demos is that inference takes kind of a while. So maybe we should let our CEO work here for a second and move on to something else. And we'll check up on him once he kind of gets some work done. What do you say?
Maybe you could get to the details of the heartbeat mechanism.
Yeah. Okay. So this is something that we are like kind of playing with quite a lot, which is the degree to which you want your agents to act autonomously versus wait for incoming work. Okay. So this idea is that you can have an advanced run policy where you say, you can have a heartbeat on interval where you say, I want you to run, every kind of 5 minutes and sort of read your initial prompt and like inject your sort of force on the world. This might be good for agents where they're checking external services, where you want someone to kind of like review your org periodically, right? This is like, if you want your agent to kind of run on a timer, you can do that. The main way that agents tend to run in Heartbeat is they wake on demand, right? So you're giving them work. They decide to break down work if they want to. And then there are like increasingly more sophisticated ways to manage those workflows such that like work actually is kind of completed, right? So another way that you can get work done is you can have routines. Routines would be these sort of like kind of prepared prompts. So for example, if I want my agents to do work in a particular way, you can either have a manual routine, which you set up here, or you can have it run on a schedule. These would be some of the like most basic things, just like run one after another, of course. But there are these like more intricate patterns that I think are more interesting. Like a really key one would be this idea around QA. If you have kind of used, like Claude Code and tried to ask it to have your agents check their work, one of the things you'll notice is that they'll sort of like fall down. Like they'll do it 60% of the time, but it's not 100% of the time. And so Paperclip has a bit of like harness engineering around these more advanced workflows where you can actually set explicitly a like a reviewer where you, or an approver. And this idea, which is once the kind of coder is done the work, you wake up the reviewer and you have the reviewer review the work and verify that is according to your specifications. You can then, after they've like kind of negotiated and iterated on that, promote it up to an approver who the approver is a little bit different. The approver says like, do your, like the reviewer just says like, did you fulfill the spec? And then the approver says like, is this work suitable for our organization, right? So these are like the baby steps into kind of how real work is actually done in like more sophisticated companies. And Paperclip sort of makes it like very easy to understand, trace what was done, look at how your agents were doing the work, track their costs, have an audit trail of what happened. Well, yeah. So if we look over here back on our macro hard, we can see.
It's a question you just mentioned before we check the results. Unless we, so you just mentioned that one of the main advantages that you see with working with Paperclip, as I see it, as I understood from what you were saying, is the specialization of each one of these agents. You talked about the QA agent, which can really focus on one discipline, let's call it that way, unlike OpenCloud that is one for all or something like that.
Yep.
Is that how you see it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think like at the moment, these models don't have infinite kind of memory or like perfect recall or infinite context. I think if you're a technical person, you look at this and kind of think like it's the same model under the hood, but just different masks. Like, why is this valuable? There's a group of people who basically say like one agent is all you ever need. You will have a super agent and this one agent will be kind of the, like will control everything about your business. And I think that like, maybe that's true or maybe it's not. I think there might be something fundamental about nature that having different entities is like important. So for example, like in reality, you have different entities with competing interests. In like, even with these models, as they sort of grow in intelligence, they have different personalities because of their training data. Right. And so that like everyone who uses these knows that Claude has a different personality than ChatGPT. And that might be like fundamental to kind of like learning and personality, where you don't have this like omniscient model. You just have like a few really good models. But you always have to kind of shape their context. Like imagine this in a human organization where you have like the sales organization versus who wants to like make the sale. And then you have the product team who's like trying to institute a vision of like how they think it should be. Right. And I don't know that like a kind of mega model really solves that issue. You effectively have to like resolve that somewhere. And so I think while humans are still involved in the work, we need this kind of human shaped architecture to interface with. And well, that's what Paperclip sort of gives you. It gives you a human face to interacting with like the super intelligence.
Got it. All right, let's move to a macro hard.
Yeah. So if we look here, we've got our CEO has created this hiring plan. He says, oh, here, let's get this CTO as our first hire. Then there's a core team, a software engineer, CMO, UX designer, scale as needed. It looks here that because we approved the CTO has been hired. They've written a hiring plan. And okay, so there's a few things that I want to point out here if you're like trying to do this for real, right? There's like the demo version and then there's like doing it actually. One of the things that we can do here, if I was really doing this, is I would read this hiring plan. I would read this deeply and I would say like, this is the infrastructure that I do or don't want. I would edit this. You can edit this document directly, or you can add comments and have your team edit the plan. You know, what I might do here is I would say like, the plan is approved, go for it, right? and then it's going to start working, and the CEO will do his thing.
Oh, this is the human in the loop that I was looking for. This is exactly where this can help preventing that drift that I talked about earlier.
That's right. That's right. And right now you can see that there are sort of 8 live instances at the moment. The default setting for your agents is that the kind of parallel, the max concurrent runs is 1, because you do want to kind of make sure, like, you want to start slow, but you can sort of increase this number as it's going. Like if you want to run 5 CTOs at the same time and let them do work in parallel, you absolutely can. But I think we'll just kind of like let them run and see where they come back here. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other, maybe you can show us how to set up the different agents, like what type of configurations and instructions and things like that? Because naturally I would, for example, if I'm using Claude Code, one of the main things that I think you wanted to solve is the fact that, I have lots of environments or tabs of Claude or Codex or whatever open. And when I open another one, I need to copy the Claude MD and all the MD files and, manage all that. And I think that's where Paperclip shines. But how is that done? Maybe you can show everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you come into your agent and you click on instructions, here is where you're able to like edit your agents.md. So in here, I find that I am writing this, adding to this all the time. And part of success with these agents is having a bit of reflection on what you like want done differently. I would say that, for example, like this one I just added recently, like if there's a blocker, tell us your best guess on how to fix it. Don't just say it's blocked, say it's blocked and here's my best guess for tutorial on how to fix it, right? So here's the thing. Paperclip is so young right now. And these default agents are not well understood either by like us or the community at large. And these are things that we're trying to develop. Like I am working to develop agents that have good defaults such that you can just launch a new company and it works. They have good taste, reasonably good taste. The underlying models are getting better and better taste all the time. And I would say that like a key thing, if you use Paperclip, like there's a lot of hype around Paperclip and I'm grateful for it, but it's something that I would hope that you hear in all of my interviews would be like, start small, be detailed, give your agents feedback. Like you need to reflect on what's not working and you need to edit it. If you start like too high and just say like, Claude, generate like infinite wealth, make no mistakes. Like it's not going to work. It's going to fall down. And so you need to kind of like spend time in the details. There's this weird like barbell problem with agents that you're like spending time giving these huge goals, asking for as much as you can, asking for like, so that way they try for big goals, but then as soon as they fall down, identifying those points and injecting your taste into it. Another thing that we actually do is we have like a skills consultant. And what this does is it actually goes and reflects on the agents and how they're doing work. And I bring them in particularly when I know the agent has a skill that's not working effectively. For example, our QA agent it kept trying to use Chrome and not the agent browser skill. And then when it would use it, it didn't have a login. And so it would just complain and be like, oh, I don't have a login. I can't do the work. And it was really annoying because I knew that it had the credentials. And so what you do is you set up the skill consultant with the QA agent and you just say like, edit his agents.txt, edit his skills, assign him to go do this and do it over and over and over until he's getting it right every time. It's almost like a training. This has become something that's like so like foundational that we're going to build that into Paperclip. But we haven't yet because I think like self-learning is something you do want to be careful of. You were mentioning even with OpenClaw is that like, if it self-learns too much, it can also self-learn the wrong thing. And you have to be like, kind of like you want to have this, like, again, approval, audit logs, audit trail. I want to see where it changed, change logs. Like, and if you don't have that, it's, you drift. You need evals. You need evals to make sure that like what you changed made your work better.
Got it. I have a follow-up question. So you mentioned that you want to start small and iterate small, but this brings me to a thought. If I already have my Claude Code and I'm running, and I, perfected it to some point, for example, to build me a UGC videos or tutorials or whatnot, and I now want to import that with all the settings to Paperclip. Is that possible?
Yeah. Paperclip already, like when you run it on your own machine, it already detects the like skills that you have installed on this machine. Let's see if I might have to grow my window to get it on here. Yeah, but you are basically able to like load up the skills that you already have, and it will use them. Like under the hood, this is still using the underlying kind of harness, by which I mean it's using the Claude Code binary or the Codex binary on your machine. And when you move to cloud, of course, there's going to be a bit more kind of configuration. But yes,
Amazing.
let me talk to you about like some things that are missing in Paperclip, because I know we just have like 15 minutes and you have questions too, but I want to like give a pitch for places where I'm like self-aware that it doesn't do what it needs. So the huge thing that's missing right now is multi-human user, right? In this version, it's you run it locally on your machine. We are making multi-human user as fast as possible. We'll have it out maybe by next week, such that your team can sign up and use it together. A corollary feature to that is having your agents run in sandboxes, such that like they can perform useful work and like getting that out. Like if you're a real team trying to deploy this, those are two key features that you need. Another piece that we talk about is CEO chat, we're going to add like memory and knowledge bases. I'm sure many of you have seen like Kaparthi's like wiki, where we're trying to kind of take a really deliberate approach in terms of like adaptable, like memory adapters in the back end, being able to like have the knowledge base be a solid foundation as the industry is moving so fast there. We're going to have like deeper planning capabilities, deeper planning kind of iteration, just more work around kind of the work product, like deployments and the like the artifacts that you've created. Like all of these pieces need to be integrated into Paperclip, because really like you're expected to be a 100x employee now, and so Paperclip is how you're going to kind of manage your work. I don't use Cursor anymore. I don't use like other products. I actually, all of my work is just built with Paperclip, and really we see like every company using Paperclip to manage their agentic workforce.
If you already mentioned other companies, can you share the best use cases that you heard of that are making real money today?
Yeah. So this guy, Nuvo David, he has a SaaS service called Post-its, which is, I believe it's kind of like almost like Buffer, like posting to TikTok. And in a month ago, right? So February, he was making 20K MRR. And then what he did is he wrote this blog post. My agents run my marketing. Paperclip runs my marketing, and it feels illegal, right? He wrote this whole blog post about how at early on, at the beginning of like March, he set up Paperclip to manage to automate the marketing for his SaaS, and then boom, grew his MRR like by 50K. And so there are other folks who basically like who use Paperclip to kind of do their work, and then like really quickly becomes a piece of critical software, because like you just can't go back to running agents by hand in Claude Code. So yeah, I would say we've done some analysis on some of the open source projects, and people are using it for, there's a guy who uses it to like manage his like Tesla rental business, or there are people who do like property management, and they're also using Paperclip for those. There's people who use it for kind of sales and marketing. And I guess one of the things that I would say, if you're looking at using Paperclip today, is I would say that like zero human company marketing needs to change. It's not like, let's say, Polsia. Have you seen Polsia, where it's like you give them money and then they make a business that you don't care about, that's AI kind of, you don't care about the details really, and then they give you more money back than you put in, right? That's like the premise of Polsia. Paperclip is not really that. Paperclip is like when you have work that you're accountable for and you want to work at agentic speed. So I think that the framing actually, if even the CEO being the top level, will change. It needs to be more like around teams, and it's a human control plane. It's not just like generating slop. It's like I have actual work that I need to do where I need to get into the details. And so you'll see the marketing language sort of shift. But I mean, the headline of Zero Human Companies, it's a nice sound bite, so it's hard to get away from.
Do you regret having that one, or are you happy with it?
I'm happy with it. It's aspirationally the goal, right? Like I think you're seeing bigger teams and bigger organizations use agentic work and get the benefits out of it. And with Paperclip, I wanted to have a tool that had an open source free version where like it gives people who are like non-technical that power. Again, it's not like a coding tool. It's like you use it for your business.
Let's talk a moment about open source.
Mm.
First, two personal questions. One is, how does it feel to have such a successful open source project that lifted 50,000 stars in about 5 weeks?
It feels great. I'm exceptionally like grateful. I'm like so thankful for the response. I feel happy that I had a need that scratched other people's itch. I feel maybe a little bit overwhelmed with the degree of pull requests that are coming in, right? I go to sleep with 1,000 pull requests and I wake up and we have 1,100. But then like, I'm also like,
talk with you about that. I have a pull request waiting for 2 weeks long.
Yeah. But I'm like eager for kind of the challenge because like, okay, you're running Zero Human Companies, fine, use Paperclip to handle your PRs. Because if you can't handle like,
is Paperclip handling all the PRs, by the way?
No, and it should, because if it was, the open PRs would be zero, right? And so that's one of the things that we are like working on, is just like, okay, how can you run a Zero Human Company if you can't even handle your own PRs, right? Like let's put your money where your mouth is and solve that problem. And so it's been fun over the last couple of weeks. We're really learning ways in which like how do you take this massive queue of data, like train your agents to have your preferences in like in an area that's really like high critical and high risk, right? Like people are already like prompt injecting pull requests to try to find vulnerabilities. They'll introduce dependencies that like sort of pawn all of your like people, like, so you cannot actually like pull requests, as much as it seems trivial, is actually like a very sort of high like risk environment. And so that like good, like that's exactly where we need to be training agents so that they're good enough for your business and you can trust them. So I would say, yeah.
Sorry. You were saying?
Well, okay. So I would say I'm like thankful for the attention. I want to kind of like capture the momentum. It's like, I don't want someone else to outpace us, because like clearly this is a problem. And, apologies to yourself and the many others who have pull requests sitting in my lap. Yeah, we're getting to them.
All right. Trust. So you raised the word trust, and there are two things there. One, open source is built upon trust and openness. And how I got a few questions from the audience. How do you balance that with you, the CEO, operating anonymously?
Yeah. I think it's such a funny question, because like you don't know who writes a lot of the software that you use every day. Like, do you know who wrote your like the encryption on your computer, or like who wrote your browser or your terminal, right? Like, Paperclip is open source and you can read the code. I don't use an avatar when I'm on video chats with my employees and my co-founders and our investors, right? So the people that I work with, like if you and I were just kind of having a video chat, I'm happy to turn on my camera and we do it. But I don't, I never sort of set out to become a personality. I think I'd actually be a lot happier just like coding and just, so when I come into these public appearances, I don't mind having a bit of sort of like privacy. I actually think in this new world, more people will actually wish that they had stayed a bit anonymous. And it's just, I'm happy sort of living in the woods and having my chickens and letting Dotta be this kind of face. If you're worried about sort of the project, I guess I would say just like read the code. It's right there. Like look at who we work with. Look at who like listen to the things that I say. I'm not kind of, it's show. I don't dream of kind of being a personality. I'm happy to sort of be here as an avatar.
Amazing. A related question from the audience: why pink birds for the main page?
Oh, I just think like the flock is kind of an analog for like this like swarms of AI agents. I don't know. It's just pretty. Scott will probably change it as soon as I give him the chance, honestly.
Okay, amazing. We have 6 more minutes. Let's take a few questions from the audience.
Yeah.
So there are a few questions related to downloading things, and for example, a question by Roy Sar, do agents automatically have access to downloading skills, and how do we protect against skill poisoning? For example, I must say that I work with Paperclip within a Docker, and everything that I work with is inside Docker. And one of the things that I'm trying to do is isolate. So for example, if you look back in the past 2 weeks, we have 2 or 3 really hard supply chain vulnerabilities, the Axios one and the light LLM ones. How do you prevent those from poisoning the agents within Paperclip?
Yeah, it's a multi-layered problem. Like security for agents is like so like it's important at every layer, right? Like ultimately under the hood, a Paperclip is using the agent harness and the model that you sort of asked it to do. And so if you ask an agent to install an npm package and it hallucinates like an exploit, like that's what will be installed. And there's not like this extra layer on Paperclip on top of that. I think like similarly with skills, like you have to assume skills.sh, they do a little bit of vetting for the like certification there, but ultimately your approach is right. You should be running it in a Docker instance. I think like Paperclip has to take maximal responsibility for all of our pieces, right? That the app itself needs to be secure. There's no like kind of obvious like security problems with the login system or the API routes. That's just like table stakes. You run your agents against it to make sure you're finding those vulnerabilities. That's like not that interesting. I think the more interesting challenge is sort of how do you have agents that only have access to what they need to have access to? Because there's this trade-off with agents that their power comes from their like ability to act on the world, and the more power you give them to act, the more kind of like things they can mess up, right? Like I don't know if you saw, there was like a case a couple of weeks ago where a team put an agent in charge of their like email list, and the agent like sent out an email blast announcing a feature that they didn't actually write. And so they had to like, and so like, how do you solve that? How do you solve like, you have to give that agent access to sending emails. So I think another thing that you get right is the services at the edge also need to create an agentic surface, right? So when you have kind of file sharing or email or Stripe, like these SaaS companies are already catching on that you need to have almost these higher, like more granular role-based permissions when you access, like, sort of like OAuth, but a little bit different in terms of the permissions that these agents are able to access. So yeah, I think if you are running Claude Code on your local machine, Paperclip doesn't like give you an extra security guarantee on top of that. Like, how could we, right? You're running super intelligence directly on your box with dangerously skipped permissions. And so you want to be aware of that. I think it's the right approach. But that's the game, or that's a world we're living in.
Great. So what you're saying is that Paperclip doesn't provide that extra layer, but the other tools and yourself, you should be accountable for that, the person who launches it. We're going to take one last question because I know you're super busy and you need to drop right after this call. So the last question would be from Roy Brenner. He asked, was it clear to you from the beginning that you're going to use MIT license as an open source project? And I'm going to add, why did you decide to go open source from the beginning? What was the decision about?
Yeah, I mean, we've had people ask if we should go to a different license. Like, we're going to do Paperclip Cloud eventually, and like there will probably be some pieces of that like maybe don't end up in open source, right? We have to kind of figure out what that means. I'm fine with MIT license. I'm happy if other people want to kind of use it. There's already been like one YC company that's used Paperclip and built a prettier interface on top of it. And as far as I can tell, removed all attribution. That's a separate issue, but I'm happy for it to be open source. I think that like the only way for a piece of software like this to compete with the labs is in two ways. One, because it has the open source community gathering around it to kind of kick the tires, find the bugs, build the adapters. And also, two, to really be this kind of credibly neutral platform. Like, do you really want like, yes, Anthropic has like Agent Cloud, and OpenAI will have the same, and they'll probably launch a task manager. But like, do you really want your entire business, your entire enterprise to be like dependent on just the Anthropic stack, and you have like vendor lock-in all the way down to every employee's using their task manager? Like, maybe you don't care, but probably not, right? You want to be able to kind of substitute out the models, the agents, without kind of being in this sort of like incentive misalignment with the like underlying model provider. So I think that there's like a strategic importance. Like, I think every company is an agentic company now. It just takes time to roll out. And so there's an importance to where this layer must be kind of a neutral open source third party. So that's like part of the strategy, is that you can download it for free to get started, and then kind of like get working with it. And really just like the idealism in me is like, I wanted individuals to be able to sort of have this power that you get at like a bigger company. And so this is a bit like business strategy and idealism is why.
Got it. Amazing. Dotta, our time is up. I wanted to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you with us, and it was super interesting to see this firsthand. I hope our audience enjoyed. Everyone stay just for a few more moments while we're going to do the raffle. I would love to see some thank yous to Dotta for joining us, and I wish more open source founders like yourself will join us for these sessions very soon.
I bet they will.
Wishing you nothing but success with Paperclip, and looking forward to those improvements that you mentioned. I really felt them as painful in some cases, especially the CO chat. So looking forward to them, and thank you. I'm going to take the screen for now.
Thank you so much. It was a great time. Thank you.
All right. While you're still here, I'm going to invite the rest of the people here to join us for our next session that is going to be, you can already come to TalkOS XYZ. I'm going to put here the link in the chat, so you can register if you want to join us for our next session. In addition, I wanted to say thank you to the supporters and the audience and everyone that was with us. Special thanks to Ilan, which helped me get things done. Oh, this is something that Claude Code made, and now I notice that it made this entire presentation, by the way. So thank you, Claude Code, and I'll ask you to make this fix. But anyways, thanks to Ilan. Thanks to all these communities which were so supportive. The Paperclip IL, it's a new community that was launched just in the last few days. And OpenClaw, which is for startups, which was launched by the Monday team a few weeks ago, and Otter Tuesday, and Indie Devs, and probably a bunch more. I really feel grateful and lucky that we are such a close community where we can work all together. As for next steps, I'm going to do a small raffle. So whoever wants to join this raffle, I'm sending the link in the chats. And thank you for staying so long. The raffle is all about getting a consultant license for the next 6 months. It includes a AI chatbot, scheduling, and video chat right from your website, and consultations. So you can join it. I'm putting it both in the webinar and YouTube, and you are more than welcome to start, and we'll collect them. While we're doing that, we're going to hear our song about Dotta for about a minute, and that's where we're going to end for today. I hope you enjoyed our session today. listen to the music, by the way?
We build Paperclip, open source and clean. One dashboard, every agent, everything between. Set the goal, Paperclip hires the team. Track the spend, track the work, watch the dream. Gotta build the thing that makes it run. TalkOS, going live. Come everyone. Bring your bot, bring your model, bring the plan. CEO, agent, delegates like only Dotta can. Roofers finding hell, printers running ops, security firms
Just
reviewing paper.
one more moment.
46,000 stars in just a couple weeks. Open source, MIT. Dotta barely speaks. Set the goal, Paperclip hires the team. Track the spend, track the work, watch the dream. Gotta build the thing that makes it run. TalkOS, going live. Come everyone. You write the goal. Paperclip hires the team. The agents work.
Are you ready?
You keep control. This is
It's coming.
TalkOS. Real talk from builders who ship in the open.
Okay, we're doing it. We're spinning. And we have a winner. See who this is. Ilan Shoham. You're the lucky one. Thank you so much, guys. Wishing us a great rest of the week. And thank you for joining. We're going to have more sessions. Join us in talkos.xyz. Thank you for joining. Have a great evening. And we're out.
Dotta had a problem, 30 tabs deep. Agents running everywhere, nothing to keep. Friday hit deploy, came back on Monday. Budget blown, no trace, who worked on Sunday. So we built Paperclip, open source and clean. One dashboard, every agent, everything between. Set the goal, Paperclip hires the team. Track the spend, track the work, watch the dream. Gotta build the thing that makes it run. TalkOS, going live. Come everyone. Bring your bot, bring your model, bring the plan. CEO, agent, delegates like only Dotta can. Roofers finding hell, printers running ops, security firms reviewing Paperclip don't stop. 46,000 stars in just a couple weeks. Open source, MIT. Dotta barely speaks. Set the goal, Paperclip hires the team. Track the spend, track the work, watch the dream. Gotta build the thing that makes it run. TalkOS, going live. Come everyone. You write the goal. Paperclip hires the team. The agents work. You keep control. This is TalkOS. Real talk from builders who ship in the open. Paperclip. Hire the beat. Dotta on the dashboard. TalkOS on repeat.